Today I'm doing a Q&A video in which I answer the questions that you asked me on Instagram. There's a total of 10, so I'm gonna try to get through them. Before we dive in, if you're new to my channel, my name is Steffi and I'm the creator of the interior style blog, Moda Misfit, and you're watching Living Pretty, the place for apartment styling tips and small space decor inspiration. So if you're into that kind of thing, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when a new episode goes up every week. So let's just cut right to it. I have my trusty iPad right here, and I'm just gonna start diving into your questions. This first question comes from Dreamy Puppy Posh. How did you know your space was the one? Well, funny story about this dream apartment of mine. It was actually my very first apartment that I looked at in my apartment search, which really felt like fate. I did look at 2 other apartments after I looked at this one. One of them I really considered because it was much cheaper and there were a lot of amenities like a gym, but ultimately I had to go with this one because it's kind of this it factor. Like when you find the right place, you feel excited when you think about it. I didn't feel excited about the cheaper, more amenity-filled place. It was kind of cookie cutter and not very inspiring. When I thought about this place, which is in a 1920s building and the location is amazing, I'm right in the heart of things in Seattle, I just felt that little sparkle in my soul, you know? It can be really hard to decide on an apartment. There are always so many things to consider, and there are always drawbacks to whatever space you choose. You take the good with the bad, you know, the facts of life. So if I were to have any advice for someone who is currently on the apartment search, it's gonna sound cliche, but listen to your gut. Does the space light you up inside? If so, that's what you should go for. This next question comes from Andrea BCP. How would you style/divide a square-shaped studio? I love this question. I love any questions that have to do with dividing a studio or laying out a studio. I have a video right here. I'll link to it below. It's where I share my main tips for laying out a studio apartment. It'll tell you sort of the basic overview of how I make a studio apartment feel cohesive and how I separate out the space into different zones and sort of the design principles that I use to actually implement those ideas. So Andrea, I would definitely recommend you check out that video. But basically, to sum it up, one big misconception I think people have about studio apartments is that they have to be literally separated by tangible things like dividers or bookshelves, and that can be really helpful. It can be. But I think people are really stuck on this idea of using physical barriers to separate their space, their studio space. But honestly, I think more times than not, that only makes the space feel closed off. One of the biggest criticisms that I get in my space is people telling me that this place would look better with a divider between my couch and my bed. And I just firmly disagree. I want to walk into an open concept space. I don't want to immediately feel like I'm walking into a closed off cave. I think you can create separation in your studio without physical barriers. A lot of the time, at least. I create separation using my couch. It basically acts as the distinguishing separator between my living room area and my bedroom area. And that's all that needs to be done. Anything else would be overkill. I also think that area rugs are extremely helpful for creating a sense of separation in a studio. Area rugs really just act as anchors in a studio, or really any space, that help your eye identify what space is what. So, Andrea, I would recommend that you watch this video, which I'll link to below. I would also let go of the idea of physical barriers like dividers in your studio, unless, every studio is different, so sometimes dividers work. I just think that we all have a little bit too much of a fixation on them. And area rugs to create separation in your studio. Speaking of area rugs, this brings me to my next question, which is from 20 Carbs Below. Unfortunately, this comment or question got cut off, so I'm gonna do my best to answer it. I think I know what she was about to say, but here it is. How did you decide area rugs from area to area? Do you make sure they blend, or where I am in a small place, should they just have a color and be less, I'm guessing she was gonna say be less obtrusive or noticeable? 20 carbs below, feel free to comment below or send me a DM on Instagram if that really wasn't your full question, and then I will answer you personally. But basically she's asking, how do I decide what area rugs and where to put them in a small space? So with my area rugs in particular, it actually started with a particular rug that I found on Target. It's this rug and then that rug over by my bed. They're both the same rug, just different sizes. I saw that rug and I fell in love with it and I knew I wanted it. And so it really started with that inspiration point. So once I got that inspiration with this one rug, then I realized, I could just buy it twice and use it to unify the space. So that's one thing about area rugs in a studio, is they can act as separators, like I mentioned in the last answer, and they can also act as unifiers. And if you go the route that I went and just buy two of the same rug, just in different sizes, then that acts as a unifier that brings the space together. And you don't have to do that. It's definitely not necessary, but it's a really good tool to make your apartment cohesive. This next question comes from Lemon Path Travel. Has your cat ever been outside? Funny you should ask. Well, Hilo spent the first year of her life outside as a stray feral cat, so she has gotten a lot of outside time. She was a year old when I adopted her from the Seattle Humane Society, and before that, I mean, I have no idea where she was, but she was definitely outside. This is the day I brought Hilo home. As you can see, she is super skinny. She was a year old and she looked like a kitten. So she was obviously not getting enough food. And as a result of her living as a stray cat for the first year of her life, she's like obsessed with food. So yes, Hilo has been outside. She doesn't go outside anymore because she's an indoor cat and we live in the city. I think she loves the small environment, and if she's ever in a big environment like my parents' house, which is like a 4,000 square foot house, she's extremely anxious, and I really think she prefers the small, cozy space with me. This next question is from Claire Louise MCC. She asks, what style would you go with if you didn't have your style? I love this question because I love thinking about it. I love fantasizing about decorating a brand new place, you know, and I actually run through my head like, what style would I choose? Would I stick with what I have, or would I do something totally different? Because I am in love with pretty much all interior styles. I do love the idea of switching to a fully Scandi space. I just think it's so soothing, and it's minimal, but unlike true minimalism, it's also very warm, so there's a lot of textures being layered. I also love the idea of going all in with dark decor. My space here is pretty dark and moody, but I'm talking like black walls, dark, moody, witchy, all-powerful sorceress vibes. That would be really cool. So Claire, I think it's a tie between Scandi and full dark decor. It's probably full dark decor. This next question comes from jessemerald.inc. Where did you get that gorgeous orange kimono? Saw it in one of your videos. Oh, you mean this one? I got this at Target. Yep, just Target. It was probably like $29 or something. A lot of my stuff is from Target. A crazy amount of my stuff is from Target. I'm definitely one of those girls who can't resist the siren call of Target. She gets me every time. Which leads me to this next question from G. Ketter. Where do you find your beautiful bedding? Love the colors and textures. My bedding is from Target too. My gray comforter is literally a bed-in-a-bag comforter from Target. And I have zero shame, honestly. Zero shame. When you have a cat, it's kind of nice to not have an extremely luxurious comforter, because I feel like if I did, I would be stressed out all the time. But aside from my comforter, my other stuff on my bed is stuff that I've accumulated over the years. The damask pillows on my bed I actually got from Nordstrom many years ago for my freshman college dorm. So that would have been in 2006. So I've had those babies for 14 years. Oh my God. The center pillow is from Pier 1. Let's all just take a moment of silence for Pier 1. Anyway, I'm really sad about Pier 1 closing. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then the green, smaller pillow is from Bed Bath & Beyond, and that was another one that I got for my college dorm back in 2006. The throw at the end of the bed is also from Pier 1. Wow, and I got that for my college dorm as well. Wow, so much of my style just comes from 2006 freshman at NYU Steffi. Am I really that stylish? If so much of my stuff comes from 14 years ago, the answer to that question is yes. You don't have to buy new things to be stylish. Whew, that was a little journey that I just went on in the last few seconds. And then the green scarf on top of that Pier 1 throw is a scarf I got at H&M, initially to be a scarf, but then I decided I liked it as part of my bedding. This next question comes from Marissa. Marissa asks, something fun. How or where did you get Hilo? Don't remember if I ever heard you mention it. Well, I mentioned it earlier in this very video. I got Hilo at the Seattle Humane Society, and I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. Oh. I actually was totally certain that I wanted a black cat because I love black cats, and I wanted to name it Luna after Sailor Moon's black cat. But when I saw Hilo, that was it. I had to have her. Basically, my first visual of Hilo was of her hugging my brother. So my brother was holding her and she was just hugging him, like arms around his neck, hugging him. And I was like, that one, that's it. Now she hates my brother. She hisses at him every time she sees him. God, she's such a fucking drama queen. This next question comes from Daisy. Did you take the back cushions off your couch and replace with throw pillows? What else did you modify? Yes, Daisy, that's exactly what I did. So my couch is from West Elm. It's part of the Urban collection. It's their Urban sofa. And when I got it, I noticed that the back cushions took up way too much room. And if I put throw pillows on it, then it looked totally crowded and there wasn't really room for me on the couch. And so since I am so dedicated to using copious amounts of throw pillows, this could not stand. So I actually removed the back cushions. They're in my closet over there as we speak, neglected and just sad. But yes, it's just throw pillows there. And I didn't modify anything else on that couch. That's all I did. And this final question comes from Claire once again. Anywhere in the world you would like to try studio living? Well, yes and no. So I am very dedicated to living in Seattle. Seattle is my home place, my homeland. Seattle is home for me. It's where I'm from. And after living in New York for 6 years and LA for 5 years before coming back to Seattle, I don't want to live anywhere else ever again. I pretty much lived in a state of perpetual homesickness when I was away, and I never want to go through that again. But if we're dreaming here, and if I could teleport back and forth whenever I wanted, I would definitely live in a studio apartment in Paris. I mean, that's like every girl's dream, right? Whenever I see one of those classic Paris apartments on Pinterest or like in a YouTube video, I swoon. I absolutely swoon. I think that would be, in fact, I'm going to link to a video that I watched recently. It'll be right here or right here. I don't know. I won't know until I'm editing, but it'll be up in the like one of these corners. It's a video of a girl who is searching for an apartment in Paris. So you get to see a few different apartments, and it was riveting. And it was so beautiful and amazing, and it was so fun living vicariously through her. So I highly recommend you check that out. But yeah, I feel like you need to see it. So it would be Paris. So there you have it. Those were the answers that I had to your questions for today's Q&A video. If you want a question of yours answered in the next Q&A video, then be sure to follow me on Instagram at moda.misfit. I usually gather the questions for Q&As on there. But also, I think the next time I do a Q&A, I'm actually going to ask in my Facebook group, which is the Living Pretty Facebook group, which I will link to below if you want to join. It's filled with awesome decor lovers, and it's just a really great place if you want somewhere to geek out about interior decor. And so I will link to that in the description below if you want to join. And if you have any studio apartment questions and you don't want to wait until the next Q&A video, then download my Studio Styling 101 workbook. I will link to that in the description below. It's a free PDF that walks you through how to get started on your studio apartment decor, so I definitely recommend you check that out. And if you want regular doses of apartment styling inspiration, then subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to be notified when a new episode goes up every week. And remember, your apartment is destined to be pretty, and you are pretty powerful.